A happy Friday to everybody. Welcome into the show. You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report. Chase Sr. here with you, and hopefully all of the Niner gang is getting ready to have an awesome weekend. Coming up here on the show, major 49ers reporting from Matt Barrows of The Athletic, who I thought did a terrific job with this piece that he put together, doing a deep dive into this Niners draft class with Tariq Ahmad. Who is Tariq Ahmad? Long tenure with the San Francisco 49ers front office, which started all the way back in 2014 when he was an assistant in the scouting department. Then he became an area scout. From there, he went on to being the director of college scouting, and now he is the director of player personnel. So really, he shared a lot of the Niners' insights for why San Francisco honed in on the players who they drafted in the 2025 NFL Draft. I guarantee you are going to learn a lot from this show, so continue to hang out here with us. And again, shout out to Matt Barrows. I will always give a nod to some great journalism out there. This certainly fits that category. Here's what Barrows started off by saying. Heading into the draft, Ahmad said the Niners knew they'd stock up on defensive linemen and that they'd come away with at least one good running back, considering the draft was teeming with talent at those positions, and it was deep overall. Of course, as a refresher, here's everything that the Niners did in the draft back a few weeks ago in April. Mykel Williams, number 11 overall pick, the edge rusher out of Georgia, has positional versatility to his game. Alfred Collins, like Mykel Williams, a massive, physically imposing defensive lineman. Collins, a defensive tackle out of Texas. Niners took him in the second round. Nick Martin is an undersized linebacker out of Oklahoma State who the Niners nabbed in the third round, but he plays like he's shot out of a cannon, like his hair is on fire. Upton Stout, smaller corner, one of the slightest corners in this draft, but he plays a lot bigger than that. Niners took him with pick number 100, the cornerback out of Western Kentucky. Niners got C.J. West, another defensive tackle, this time out of Indiana in round 4. Jordan Watkins, a 4.3 speed guy at wide receiver out of Ole Miss. He was the other fourth-round selection by the Niners. In a very deep running back class, the Niners come away with Jordan James out of Oregon in round 5. Marques Sigle can play nickel, dime, safety. He runs a 4.3, safety out of Kansas State after he started his college career at North Dakota State. And then the final 3 picks for the Niners as part of this 2025 class. Kurtis Rourke, quarterback out of Indiana. Connor Colby, guard out of Iowa. And Junior Bergen, wide receiver out of Montana, all in the 7th round. And of course, we begin with the Niners' insight on Mykel Williams, the edge rusher out of Georgia, who the Niners fell in love with in the pre-draft process. A snippet from this article here. A year ago, the 49ers scouting combine interview with safety Malik Mustapha was one of their most memorable of the draft process. Mature, extremely bright, confident, Ahmad said last year of Mustapha, who'd go on to start 12 games. He left a very positive impression. He said 2 interviews stood out in this year's cycle. The first, Mykel Williams. It matched up with everything the school told us. Intensity, passion, Ahmad said. He made a great initial impression. The 49ers were sold on Williams early on and did their best to hide their affection for him. Because he was still recovering from the ankle injury during the offseason, Williams worked out for scouts late in the process, a week before the draft. I really wanted to go back for Mykel's workout, Ahmad said with a smile. I was itching to go back, but John Lynch thought it was a better idea to just watch the tape. Why? Because if other teams caught wind of that, they would have found out that the Niners really like Mykel Williams. This really echoes what Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch said after night 1 of the draft. They said Mykel Williams was the player who we wanted. We fell in love with him in the pre-draft process, and for a moment, we weren't sure if he was going to fall to us with the 11th overall pick. As for the Niners' second-round selection, Alfred Collins, the defensive tackle out of Texas. Massive wingspan, 6'5", 330 pounds. Here's some insight on him from this article. Texas was a frequent stop for Niners evaluators in recent years, and because of that, they ended up with a number of reports on Collins. 19 to be exact. All of them noted how fast someone of his size is. 6'6", 332, reach ball carriers Alfred can get off blocks and cover a short area very quickly, Ahmad said. The 49ers also had some inside information. Ahmad spent 7 seasons at Rutgers with assistant coach Kyle Flood, who's now Texas's offensive line coach. One of the things he kept telling me about Alfred was he destroys practice. He's the hardest guy that they had to block on the interior of the defensive line, getting off blocks, creating knockbacks. Texas often asked Collins to handle 2 gaps on their defensive line. The 49ers want their linemen attacking and playing aggressively. When he picks up their style, the 49ers think his modest college pass rush numbers, just 1 sack last year, will increase. He doesn't attack like we attack, Ahmad said, but because of his length and his power, we feel that we can get that out of him. And so anytime you're in the draft, there are going to be projections, and there are going to be projects to a certain degree. I don't know if these players are projects. I do think they're a little bit projections as far as Mykel Williams and Alfred Collins, maybe a little bit of C.J. West as far as them being able to get after the quarterback. But the Niners believe they have those skills to build upon, and they think their scheme can bring the best out of these players. Another note on Alfred Collins, a 55-2 tackle-to-miss tackle ratio, and he bats down a lot of passes at the line of scrimmage. To the 3rd round, linebacker Nick Martin out of Oklahoma State. Remember earlier we were talking about how there were 2 interviews which wowed the Niners, Mykel Williams and Nick Martin. The other player who dazzled in his combine interview, Martin. Ahmad noted that both linebackers coach Johnny Holland and defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, a former linebackers coach, fell in love with Martin during the draft process. He definitely was one of our consensus guys, Ahmad said. We had him at that combine interview, and everybody was extremely excited about him. He was the guy we were targeting. The 49ers wanted someone with the communication skills to call defensive plays should Fred Warner ever have to come out of a game. Martin did that at Oklahoma State, and they were looking for a defender who could lead a group of rookie defenders the team might have to lean on heavily this season. Martin was a 2-time team captain in college. The Niners hope Martin can fill the weak side role of Dre Greenlaw that Greenlaw played so well in recent years. Body structure-wise, they're a little bit different, Ahmad said. But the aggressiveness, physicality, play speed, the passion, there's a lot of ways to compare those 2 guys. Everyone's different, but we're hoping. So how about the Niners? Looking at Nick Martin as a guy who could call plays like Fred Warner and fulfill the role of Dre Greenlaw. The other takeaway I had with this article, it backs up a lot of what I have talked about as far as player comparisons, what the Niners project these players to be, the scheme fit. And of note, Martin in 2023, unbelievable play. 140 tackles, 16 TFL, 6 sacks, 2 picks, and 2 pass breakups. He hurt his knee in 2024. Still worked out at the NFL Combine, though. That's a good sign. But if he didn't get hurt in 2024, I think he could have gone higher. With that, I ask you this. Who is your favorite Niners draft pick of this entire draft class? I want you to let me know down in the comments section right now. We're only starting to take flight here on today's show, but first, if you want a Niners jersey, get it today. It's a very simple process. All you have to do, plug in that link down below on your mobile device, your computer, your tablet. It's chatsports.com/49jersey. It will take you to Fanatics, and you will see that Fanatics has an endless amount of jerseys that you can get. We've showed you current players here. You can get Jerry Rice, Joe Montana. You can get the 94 throwbacks. You can get the home reds, the road whites, whatever you want. Fanatics has it for you. If you want something other than a jersey, a polo, shirt, hoodie, beanie, hat, something for your man cave or your women cave, chatsports.com/49jersey is where it's at. I'll put that link down below in the show notes and attached to the pinned comment of today's program. Then we go to Upton Stout, the cornerback who's rocking the number 20. No, that is not Ambry Thomas. Some insight here on Stout. The Niners hosted Stout on an official visit and noted that his personality mirrors the way he plays. The thing that stands out most when you watch Upton's tape is his demeanor and his aggressiveness, Ahmad said. He plays like he loves football. He plays in run support like he loves getting to the ball. It's exactly the passion, the mentality we're looking for. Ahmad said something similar about second-round cornerback Renardo Green a year ago, that tackling and run support were his favorite parts of his game. At 5'8.5", Stout was one of the shortest defenders in the draft, but Ahmad said he doesn't think of him as small. He noted that Stout's 74.5-inch wingspan is average for a nickel corner, and he's thickly built, more so than former Niners nickelback Mykel Williams, to whom Stout's been compared. Stout also has an outsized personality, which the Niners experienced during his visit. We absolutely loved his passion, Ahmad said. Every time he walked into the room, he lit the room up. It's similar to the way he plays. I'll tell you this, man. The Niners have some woo dogs at corner. Deommodore Lenoir, Renardo Green, Upton, Stout, and another takeaway too. The Niners really prioritize and put value on players who have that dog mentality, who love football, who have personalities that will bode well in the locker room. Guys who can light the room up. And I think this cornerback trio could be one of the better and more underrated corner trios in the National Football League in 2025. Then we shift to CJ West, number 50 here. This was at rookie minicamp. He's not going to be rocking 50. That bodes well for his production in 2025. You can't be rocking 50 as a guy who was taken as high as CJ West was. I think he's going to be rocking the number 99, and I think Alfred Collins is going to 98. Either way, it's a better number switch. Insight on CJ West. When the Niners hired defensive line coach Chris Kocurek in 2019, Ahmad was the scout who cross-checked the draft's defensive lineman that year. That was the Nick Bosa draft, which meant the two worked together a lot, and they became close. It also means Ahmad knows that Kocurek pines for quick, powerful defensive linemen. That's West, whose 1.73 10-yard split at the combine at 316 pounds was one of the fastest at the position. He's someone we still think has a lot of untapped upside. He's somebody we're going to have to teach how to get off the ball the way we get off the ball. He's a powerful, heavy guy. He's got twitch. He's got short area movement. He's got instincts. You know what he also has? He's got that Niners mentality. He has said, I hate quarterbacks. I love hitting quarterbacks in the face. And I think there are three rookies who could start along the defensive line. Mykel Williams, CJ West, and Alfred Collins. Again, these players do have to develop a little bit. It's not to say that they are finished products, which rookies are. It is to say, though, that I really like the draft selections, and I think these players have a lot of potential. Jordan Watkins, a very interesting pick in the 4th round, Ole Miss wide receiver who can really fly. Ahmad said he thought Watkins looked as good as any receiver at the combine, especially in the gauntlet drill. That's the one in which the player is asked to run in a straight line from one sideline to the next, while quarterbacks fire them passes from both directions. Watkins reached 19.78 miles per hour during the drill, second fastest speed among the receivers, and his Pro Football Focus numbers support the good hands assessment. He had 6 drops over his college career, according to the site. For comparison, the first receiver taken in the draft, Tet McMillan, had 7 drops last year. Ahmad said the scouting staff left the combine impressed with Watkins, and that the more the coaching staff became involved, the higher he climbed on the team's draft board. Watkins also has many of the traits that Shanahan, who is hard to impress when it comes to receivers, covets, including being loose in his lower body, strong change of direction skills, and fluidity. I'm not going to say that Jordan Watkins is the next Deebo Samuel, but he is built in his lower half. He has some of that change of direction skill of Deebo Samuel, and he can run a 4.3, track the ball well. He was one of the most explosive wide receivers in college football last year. Jordan James, 5th-round running back out of Oregon. He fell to the 5th round, partially because this running back class extremely deep. He is a change of pace back, too, as compared to a player who the Niners took last year in Isaac Guerendo. The 49ers had a big contingent, including Lynch and Ahmad, at Oregon's Pro Day, where James stood out. We were standing right behind him, and we thought he had an excellent workout, Ahmad said, whereas the tailback they drafted last year, Isaac Guerendo, was prominent for his speed. James's top traits are his strength and acceleration. More than half of his 2,215 rushing yards in college came after contact. We spent a lot of time on running backs this year, he said. It was a very deep group, and there was definitely an opportunity for us to get somebody somewhere from the first round through the seventh round, and I think we've walked away with two, including undrafted free agent Corey Kiner, that can help us. And I think Corey Kiner has an opportunity to potentially make this team. Christian McCaffrey, got to have a healthy and bounce-back season for him. Isaac Guerrero, Jordan James could compete for RB2 duties. And if the Niners hold on to four running backs, Jordan James and Corey Kiner, they could round out that list. And then there's Marques Sigle, the safety out of Kansas State. We've talked about his speed here on the show. Sigle, who ran his 40 in 4.37 seconds. Fastest safety the Niners have drafted since they took Tarvarius Moore, 4.32 in the third round of 2018. Whereas Moore had trouble with tackling angles as a safety, that hasn't been a problem for Sigle. I love the way he closes and is able to erase mistakes because of that speed, Ahmad said, and I love the physicality with which he played. He got to the ball consistently at a very high rate. Moore was a dime defender at times for the Niners. Sigle could play there too. That would be natural for him, Ahmad said, but I'm not sure we've gotten to that yet. And this safety position, it's an intriguing one going into OTAs this upcoming week and going into training camp in the 2025 season just because of that injury to Malik Mustapha. And so Jair Brown looking to bounce back, Jason Pinnock, Marques Sigle, and Richie Grant, all really going to be competing for that free safety spot. As we know, the Niners took a quarterback in the 7th round. Kurtis Rourke out of Indiana helped to lead the Hoosiers to the college football playoff, played all of last year on a torn ACL. Rourke attempted nearly 1,300 passes at Ohio and Indiana, which was almost as many as Brock Purdy's nearly 1,500. And, of course, far more than Trey Lance, 318, wow, when entering the NFL. It's something that we value, Ahmad said. We value meaningful reps, game reps at all positions, and especially at that position, quarterback. Rourke not only had the reps, he played the position at a high level. Ahmad said Rourke stood out in his processing speed and decision-making, 29-5, touchdown to INT ratio last year at Indiana, and his accuracy. He also was a favorite of new quarterbacks coach Mick Lombardi. Rourke, bigger-bodied, old-school quarterback who isn't too mobile, but he can process and layer footballs in there. The Niners finally went offensive line in round 7 with Connor Colby out of Iowa, who started more than 50 games at right guard for the Hawkeyes. Good scheme fit going from Iowa to the Niners as far as how they run the football. Offensive line coach Chris Forster might be even harder to please when it comes to his position group than Shanahan is with receiver. Shanahan played receiver at college, for those of you who don't know. Chris is an extremely realistic grader, Ahmad said. He's excellent at the evaluation of not only the talent and the product they put on the film, but also the mentality. And Colby is one of the guys that he believes in. I thought he was really strong in the run game, Ahmad said. I really like his lower body, his bend, his lower body power. Look, one of my bold predictions, Connor Colby could start at left guard for San Francisco. He played a lot of right guard at Iowa, but he started more than 50 games at Iowa. Look out for that competition. Connor Colby, Ben Barch, Nick Sigle, Spencer Burford. And then the final pick for the Niners in this draft, Junior Bergen, a return specialist out of Montana. The 49ers couldn't say no to Bergen when it came to their final pick, or rather, they couldn't say no to their special teams coaches. The son of coordinator Brant Boyer is the kicker at Montana, while Boyer's top assistant, Colt Anderson, played safety for the Grizzlies from 04 to 08. That is the duo, had inside connections and did a lot of research on Bergen, who scored 8 punt return touchdowns in college and averaged nearly 17 yards per return. When he was there with our last pick and the special teams coaches are standing on the table emphatically for him, it makes it easier to draft him, Ahmad said. And Junior Bergen, Kyle Shanahan even said, look, he might strictly be a returner, but has short area quickness. He can make people miss in a phone booth. And right now, the competition for him to be the punt returner, Jacob Cowing. And Jacob Cowing, as we know, struggled a little bit with that role last year. So in finding out all of this in-depth, behind-the-scenes information, Does this make you feel better or worse about the Niners draft? B for better, W for worse. This is why you subscribe to the channel. The Athletic, that requires a subscription. Our content here, it's free.